look at it and I think Jake Paul against I mean, look, for me, we'll do it for the banter. Do you know what I mean? Like, AJ would fight Jake Paul. He'd fight anyone, to be honest with you. And if Jake Paul wants to step up and fight Anthony Joshua, he'll need the relevant insurance. But, you know, the only thing that was disappointing was he says 2026.
If you was in the early rounds, but it's amazing that Paul is still standing, taking the right uppercut. He knows he's been hurt. His hands are down. It's just incredible. And even if he does land his best shot at the moment, not that much is going to happen. And it almost, there's a left hook. Down goes Paul.
6, 7, 8, 9. It's a video
Oh, hello and welcome back to another podcast of the sport where we're another step closer to the death of the sport that we love. And like it or not, it's our fault really. It's our fault. Well, maybe not the audience listening to this, but like people listening to this on the right side. But there's a large and increasingly larger majority of boxing fans who don't care about the foundations of the sport because they never grew up with the foundations of the sport. There are a lot of boxing fans right now who basically just grew up watching boxing in the Eddie Hearn era, the kind of late stage David Haye era into this Eddie Hearn and Joshua era. And so their boxing sensibilities are skewed, right? They are, what do they call them now? They call them soy boys, don't they? You know, like kind of beta male, kind of guys who are a bit effeminate, you know, not comfortable talking to women, would rather knock one out of pornography than go out on a date. You know, the sort of guys who probably commit school shootings, right? And a lot of those in the UK, because we don't have guns, a lot of them become like boxing fans. They get their little Twitter channels and they call themselves commentators on the sport. You get a little YouTube channel and all that sort of stuff that does 87 views per video. You do all of this stuff, right? But you're not from the foundation. And because you're not from the foundation, your goal in life is to consume everything about boxing, no matter how debased it is, no matter how dirty and disgusting it is. And you do it over and over again, and then you wonder why the sport doesn't get any better. Now, I'm just sat here recording in a vest and in my boxer shorts, mainly because I should be in bed now. But if I didn't record this, I probably never record it because we're getting some silly season now. So I'm going to be stuff. Let me do it now. And I was at my friend's restaurant. Tonight was the soft launch where you iron out the kinks. You just invite close friends and family. You don't even serve alcohol because you're not licensed to serve yet. So it's like a gathering. And as part of that gathering, because they can't serve alcohol, I had to go around the corner. Anyone that's from Crawley knows. You hit the corner real quick and you get down. And so now that I had to decide what I wanted to drink, and I was like, I'm in a old Jamaica fiery ginger beer mood. You know? It's a very powerful drink. Just taste-wise, very strong. You know, it's lovely, by the way. Yeah, 40p a can in Asda. Now, what do you drink with that? So what spirit would go well with that, right? And the thing is, you don't want anything too expensive because really, I'm mixing with 40p cans of drink. So there's no point in drowning out expensive anything with that. So you end up at the kind of the second from bottom tier of spirits in the supermarket, right? The kind of sub average. And end up at Hague Club, right? And if you remember what Hague Club is, Hague Club was a whiskey. I don't know if David Beckham actually invested in it, but he was the face of Hague Club for a long time. And they told us that it was going to be this amazing whiskey, right? They talked about this journey they'd been on, and this is going to be the whiskey that changes the game. Go back and look at the pictures and the marketing and all that. Bex is front and center of this marketing. And so it was marketed at the young man who lives a sophisticated life, right? Now, when you open Hague Club and have a couple of sips of it, you realize it's the blandest, flattest, most basic whiskey. They haven't even tried to make it special, right? It is just that. But it's in an amazing blue bottle with a kind of rose gold cap. It, presentation-wise, looks amazing. Everything in it you could spit out and replace with your own piss. Hague Club is what Anthony Joshua is. He's all marketing and just basically horse piss. Yeah, that's what he is. He's all marketing and horse piss. Because he was designed to appeal to the kind of people who go on Tommy Robinson marches. He was designed to appeal to people who love to do a couple of lines of coke in the pub on a Friday night. He was designed to appeal to people that put that big center exhaust in a Golf R. That's who Joshua was designed to appeal to, right? He was designed to appeal to the people who wear deep V-neck t-shirts. So if anyone's ever been to, what was Wayne Lineker's place in Ibiza called? Ocean Beach Club. You know the guys at Ocean Beach Club? Yeah, you know the Ocean Beach Club, not Ocean Beach Club. You know the guys at Ocean Beach Club who've spent all winter training. They've got on the Anavar because they're too scared to pin proper steroids. They've got on the Anavar. They've got on the MK677 because they're too scared to pin real growth hormone. Like just basically cowards. And they show up with their six-pack and they're about 103, 104 kilos, right? But they don't have enough money to buy a section, an area. So they're all on the outside watching people like us, this audience here, who put money down to buy a section because, if you're going to go somewhere, just be front and center. And so they watch with envy when everything's happening and they can't get in there because there are three big Lithuanian bouncers going, I snap neck in half, right? See those guys on the perimeter of Ocean Beach Club? Yeah, the guys who worship Dan Bilzerian. They are who Anthony Joshua was designed for. So the minute that people in boxing started saying, you know what, this Joshua guy is, you were signing up to the death of, I don't want to say real boxing fans, because I think every boxing fan is real, but you were signing up to the death of the foundation of boxing, which was earning your place in that sport by living through the values and principles of the sport. We took a guy who basically took up the sport at 17, 18, who by his own admission only did it because he was scared of being beaten up by people his own age. Remember, high political youths in Reading jail? His own age. Not grown men, for the record. Young offenders. He was scared of being beaten up by young offenders at 6'6" and 103 kilograms. That's the guy they said was your hero. That guy. And that's what you were sold. And they tried to convince you that this guy was in the same conversation as a Lennox Lewis and a Mike Tyson. They tried to convince you this guy was in the same conversation as an Evander Holyfield, and they'd always have him stood next to these people like Shannon Briggs and Holyfield, so that mentally you'd associate him with them. But if you've ever seen them side by side, so when you see an Anthony Joshua stood next to an Evander Holyfield or Riddick Bowe or Shannon Briggs, do you know what it's like? It's like putting a Skoda Octavia estate next to an Audi RS6. I don't care what bits they have in common. I don't care if they've got indicator stalks in common. I don't care if they've got the same rear bumper. They look fundamentally different. They look like they were designed for different purposes, and they exist in two different worlds. And we've kind of allowed AJ to cosplay as a potential great for a long, long time. And people have done mental gymnastics with his resume and said, this resume stands up against anyone else's. Yet it never did. Right? It never did. And people who knew boxing knew that, and they saw through it, and they saw through him. And that has to hurt him. Because everything about Joshua is this: I just want your validation. And when he doesn't get it, he falls out with people. He fell out with Lennox because Lennox wouldn't validate him. You see what I mean? Like, their beef is simply this. Lennox said, I don't think this guy is as tough as people are telling me he is. And Lennox said, as soon as you put him with a guy that can fight and that has a chin, he will come apart. He's not cut from what we're cut from. Because we had to do it the hard way. He didn't. Joshua hadn't been in many camps, if you remember. Anthony Joshua is not a guy that did a lot of miles in people's camps. He's not a guy that traveled a lot to spar other people. He didn't really. Do you know what I mean? He just didn't. He wasn't a guy, and it's a problem in British boxing at the moment. He wasn't a guy that did the miles to go and learn his trade. He wasn't a guy that did the miles to go and put himself in tough environments and find out who he really is. He never did any of that. He was spoon-fed. He was spoon-fed stuff. And he was turned into a robot. Monkey see, monkey do. That's what he is. Yeah. Box by numbers. And that works. Until you fight the real ones. That works until you fight people who actually know how to box. That works until you fight people who know how to fight. Who know how to overcome. People of character, like Andy Ruiz. People of character, like Alexander Usyk. People of character in varying forms, like a Daniel Dubois. As soon as Joshua found a wall that was taller than 4 foot, didn't have it in him to climb. And Eddie Hearn being a guy that no matter how stupid he sounds, and he sounds stupid a lot, no matter how stupid he acts, and he acts stupid a lot, he knows boxing. And he knew he had to take AJ off that greatness train and pivot him towards this clown train that he's on right now, which is just about getting money. Fight a guy like Ngannou. Make your money. Springboard that into a fight against Dubois. Get splattered, get posted, get basically, head down, ass up. That's the way we like to, if you know what I mean. And now we've got him fighting Jake Paul. And look, I'll hold my hands up right now and say I didn't think the fight would happen. And the reason was I didn't think it didn't make any sense. There was no winning position for boxing in this. And they would have got more traction and more value had they actually postponed it. Because I don't believe anyone came out of this enhanced. And the things you're hearing in camp, I hear little things that leak out of camps, right? Because people drop little clues for me. And it was this. Jake was just learning how not to get hit in camp. That's it. He was just learning how not to get hit. And you have to remember, he was trained by, who's the dude he was trained with before? Milton Supreme. I can't remember his proper name. But he was trained by a really good guy who was very unorthodox before, and that's why Jake used to box very unorthodox. And then he replaced him with, I think it's Jalian Love. And Jalian Love was the guy that had been in the camps. So he did the whispering thing like, yo, man, I can help you get real nice at this, man. Make you a world champion. And so Jake Paul's been on his journey where I think people are telling him that he's good and that he is competitive against guys like Joshua. And I'm sure they've set sparring up so he looks good and stuff. But we know if a guy who blagged it his whole career can get to Olympic gold and then get messed up by people who know what they're doing, there's only so far Jake can go in this game before he has a similar reckoning. And Friday night he got his reckoning. And is there any point in talking about the fight? There were knockdowns, which you'd expect. It looked like a sparring session until Jake got tired. It was like prospect versus journeyman. That's what it was like. And then in that sixth round, Jake just had nothing in the legs. He had no bounce, no skip, and he was bolt upright. If you actually look at Jake Paul's positioning when he takes the jab to the body before the knockout, his feet are together. He stood bolt upright and just pinned up against that post. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. If you were to ever write up a tactics board for how you fight Joshua, it is this: do not get pinned up against the ropes, do not get pinned in a corner, because he's going to shoot a jab to the body and a right hand over the top. If that one misses, he'll swing a big meaty right hook to follow that up and a big meaty left hook. That's just how Joshua operates. Gun shy or not, the man's got his patterns. But if you think about it, Jake Paul got to round 6 out of 8. If you did fractions at school, 6 over 8 is 3 over 4, which is 75%. Anyone listening to this, if you got 75% for any assessment, you'd be bouncing. You'd be like, yeah, I'm not bad at this thing. Joshua made Jake Paul look tough. Take that in. This big monster, this big Eddie Hearn and Matchroom creation, Anthony Joshua, made Jake Paul look tough. Oh, you don't believe me? You don't believe me? Watch the end sequence again. Joshua levels him with his best shot. And how do you know it's his best shot? Look how far his right shoulder is in front of his left shoulder. That punch probably couldn't have gone any further. So he's put everything into it mechanically. Jake Paul gets hit. He's not out cold, and I know he's not out cold because his arms come out to try and grab the ropes to keep himself up. Whether that's instinct or presence of mind doesn't matter. He's not out cold. He slumps into that corner, looks befuddled for a bit, gets up, beats the count. Another Joshua opponent that beats the count. It might just be Ngannou in recent memory who didn't beat the count. Jake beat the count. The ref just stopped it because he was like, you've had enough. But Jake Paul got stopped on his feet against Anthony Joshua. Big punching Femi got stopped on his feet, protesting the stoppage. Not even like, oh yeah, got my money there. Whew, that was lucky. None of that. And if the rumors of the broken jaw in 2 places are true, then what a price to pay. Because now you've had to get your teeth redone. You'll get your jaw realigned. Your skull's got to adapt. Your morphology's got to kind of adapt to the new reality of a slightly thicker jawline, misaligned, whatever. And so really, you're not going to be 100% right for at least a year and a half. But I guess it was worth it. Because Jake Paul got paid handsomely. Now, is it the number that people are talking about? No. No. As much as it's a global circus and it's this and it's that, Netflix is a platform that's struggling to acquire subscribers, which is why it's trying to buy, I think it's Warner Brothers, right? It is struggling to grow organically. It can't grow its subscriber base. Boxing is not going to do that. If boxing couldn't grow DAZN, it cannot grow Netflix. They will know this because unlike most boxing fans, do you know what I mean, who wrote off A-levels by the age of 12, no one in that Netflix building is paying Joshua 50 million, Jake Paul 70 million for something that doesn't drive at least 1 million additional subscribers, and that wasn't going to do it. So what were the real purses? I don't know. You have to remember, Joshua had gone to Turkey to say, no, can you give me a few mil for an 8-rounder? And Turkey just middle fingered him and said, no, why would I do that? Right? So that's what happened. So I suspect what happened here is they went to Jake Paul and said, look, Tank's out. We'll do it for less money than Tank. Yeah, we'll do it for less money than Tank. So they probably gave AJ for that maybe 8-9 mil. Because, like, what did he really have to do in there? Do you know what I mean? How much would Jake have taken? Maybe 12? And suddenly it's a 20 mil experience experiment that makes absolute sense. But all these numbers other people bandy about are not true. What happens in this game, right, is if I've got a fighter, so let's say, let's think of a boxer. So let's say I've got Liam Cameron. Lee, and don't go mad at me. So let's say I've got Liam Cameron. And I want Liam Cameron to be seen as a £500,000 a fight guy. I'm just going to put it in the media and say, yeah, you know, Liam Cameron's going to fight Ben Whittaker for $500,000. I'm just going to keep saying that. He's going to fight for $500,000. And then as soon as 10, 15, 20 outlets write that, that's the number. Now in boxing, they're like, is he really getting $500,000? But it's too late by then. The fans believe it. So the fans are like, yeah, Liam's worth $500,000. And so there are these mind games that get played. That's why they talk about Usyk earning X, Crawford earning Y. Because when they come to make other fights, they want people to understand where the number is in their head. But these numbers aren't real. Just know that. Just like the weigh-ins aren't real. These things are not real. That's why they call the weigh-ins ceremonial weigh-ins now. All the official stuff gets done way before. Yeah, so the fight can go ahead. But Jake's made his money. Josh has made his money. Netflix is in the public eye. But you know who loses? Boxing. And the fans lose. And the fans basically lose because you've watched boxing basically be shown to be quite an easy sport. And I always hear people say, you do it then. Why don't you do it? And they don't really understand. The reason everyone listening here isn't playing rugby for Harlequins isn't a lack of ability, nor is it a lack of talent, nor is it a lack of toughness. It is just that it hasn't been your habit for the last 15 years. But if it was your habit for the last 15 years, playing at that level wouldn't intimidate you. Boxing is just a habit. The people that box have the habit of getting punched in the face and punching others in the face. It's not a hard sport. Jake Paul showed you it's not a hard sport. It also shredded the idea that what boxers do is elite. Because suddenly Jake Paul has money. He can pull anyone in. How do you get Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, etc. into your camp? Don Charles into your camp? Yeah? Unless you got serious firepower. And here's the third and most important part of this. Boxing went to them. Okay? Ellie Scotty went to MVP. Caroline Dubois went to MVP. I think Sugar Neeks, Shanika Johnson, went to MVP. Yeah? They went there. That's it. Boxing went there. Don Charles went to Jake. Lawrence Okoli went to Jake. Jared Anderson went to Jake. Boxing went to them. That tells you how weak boxing is. We've already got a massive talent problem. Now we've got a massive credibility problem. In gyms up and down the country, do you mean up and down the country, like postmen, cab drivers, accounts assistants, insurance documentation specialists, test engineers are walking into gyms and being comfortable training in gyms that once had animals in them. It used to be scary to walk into the Lynn. It used to be scary to walk into Earlsfield. It used to be scary to walk into any of these gyms, Stonebridge. It used to be scary walking into Dale Youth. It's scary. You didn't just walk in. Now you film yourself walking in. If you don't feel like sparring and you need a breather, they just let you jump out. Come on, mate. Yeah. You need 10 minutes to recover from 1 minute sparring. Cool. All right, go and do that. It's fine. When this is your sport, are you surprised that Jake Paul is the high priest of all things boxing? And let me say this again. I'm not mad at Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul was smart and he looked at boxing when it can't be that hard. And the more he got into it, the more he's like, it ain't that hard. I think, and people laugh when I said KSI might be the most important person in boxing in the last 10 years. And I said, from a commercial perspective, I think KSI blew everything in the air and said, you don't need those guys to make money in boxing. We can do it. And he's proved it. And I think Jake Paul has said, these boxers ain't as tough as people keep making out. And he probably, in his head, he's like, I may not be good enough, but one of us on this side, this YouTube side, is going to be good enough to beat one of these pros. Not even the journeyman pros, the good ones. If you're not scared about where boxing's going, may God be with you. Because I am. I don't see how we get our credibility back. I'd argue Gervonta Davis would never have let it go 6. I genuinely believe that. He had the IQ to break down what Jake Paul was trying to do, hit and run. He'd have handled that in 2 or 3 rounds. Start breaking him down to the body, to the head, and he'd have beat him to submission. I genuinely believe that. I think Jake wouldn't have been able to get up. Does that mean that Jake would beat Anthony Joshua? No. But I'd give him a 30% chance of beating Joshua. I genuinely would. Which then leads me to another question. Would Andre Ward beat Anthony Joshua? It's hard to argue that he wouldn't now. Joshua can't box in the inside. I don't think Anthony Joshua's stronger than Andre Ward. And if you've ever stood next to Andre Ward, I don't think there's more than 5 inches tops between them. And when Ward boxes tall and Joshua doesn't, it gets a lot closer. Now weigh in Ward's IQ, his toughness, his strength, ability to wear you down on the inside. I think Joshua would struggle. I think Ward sussed this out pretty quickly and said, I'll go up to heavyweight and fight Joshua. And people thought he was crazy. Well, no, people didn't think he was crazy. The Matchroom sound machine made people think he was crazy. They gaslit people into thinking he was crazy, but he wasn't. And it's sad that a guy that people were talking about potentially walking into the Hall of Fame once upon a time is now a bit of a joke. Because he couldn't get rid of a guy he outweighed by like 30 pounds and out-heighted him by about 6 inches. He couldn't even be the bully he used to be. How embarrassing. And then there's guys in his combat tracksuit with a stupid fucking chain around his neck, dancing with DJ Khaled in a club. What are you celebrating? What are you celebrating? Oh, he's got some money. You know, like I saw people tweeting, oh, he got 50 mil. And I laughed because people want to believe this stuff's true because they want to feel that one day they could get that money. Just shut up, man. Just listen, just be okay with $18.35 an hour, okay? I'm not saying that to mock it. I'm just saying it is what it is. Anthony Joshua does everything wrong. The only thing he did right was pose for a picture with the rapper Freeway, who's an absolute legend. But I think Anthony Joshua's become this weird parody / joke / sad indictment of the sport of boxing. And we've been able to watch this happen over like 12, 13 years. This slow decline and drift into irrelevance. To the point where even Tyson Fury calling him out means nothing now. They can pull all these gimmicks up, get these ventriloquists or whatever these clowns are to make John Fury impressions, etc. Anthony Joshua's done. If you're Turki Al Sheikh sat in Saudi Arabia, you're looking going, why did no one tell me this guy was this bad? He should have rung Eddie and gone, this is your best heavyweight? Don't call me again. I don't want to see you at my shows again, Eddie. This guy's a clown. Turkey needs to come out and say, this guy's a clown. I don't want to see Fury versus Joshua. I'd rather see Fury versus Wilder now. Because I don't believe there's a fighting heart in Anthony Joshua. Now, I don't know if it's the problems in his personal life. I don't know if it's the problems in his other life. I don't know if it's whatever it is. And credit to the media for keeping that stuff suppressed. Whatever it is, it's taken his fighting heart out, if it was ever there. As for Jake, it's tricky. If he did have his jaw smashed in 2 places, he ain't going to want to do that again. You know, you get older, you get a little bit wiser, you start to acquire things, family, assets, whatever. You don't want to give those up just getting hit in the head. Too comfortable. And there's only so many Anthony Joshua you can drag up before the fans turn on you, so he can't even pull that trick again. Poor guy. But in boxing history, Jake Paul will be that guy that said, I showed these people up. The sport is a con. Yeah, in my opinion, boxing's a scam. What they tell you is true is not true. All those heavyweights they said was, all turned out to be busted flushes. Except Usyk. You'll never hear Jake Paul call out Usyk. But after this fight, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? But I don't think Usyk would let him off the hook. I genuinely think Usyk would go to end the fight. It'd be a nasty Usyk, not like we're used to seeing. But we never know. But look, in terms of that fight, I think it would have been a moronic thing to stay up to watch it. I think any kind of overt support for it is embarrassing and debases the sport. But the real question is, have we lost our sport for good? I don't know, but it feels that way. More people leaving than coming in. Never a good sign, guys. And on that note, I will say, take care. I know I probably have to talk about the Misfits stuff and all the other stuff. So that'll be with you soon, okay? Take care.